The child's flower was still warm in my palm when a shadow fell over us both. I looked up into emerald eyes that held the weight of kingdoms, and something darker. Something that made my wolf whimper in recognition, even though I'd never seen this man before.
Mine!
Mine, he said, his voice carrying across the market square like a royal decree that silenced every conversation, every transaction, every breath. I opened my mouth to protest, to laugh, to ask if he'd lost his mind. But he was already lifting his hand in a signal I didn't understand. Guards appeared from the shadows like they'd been waiting for this exact moment. "Escort my queen to the palace," he commanded, those emerald eyes never leaving mine. "We have a wedding to prepare." That's when I realized three things simultaneously. First, the child clutching my skirt was his son. Second, by accepting that innocent flower, I'd triggered some ancient law I'd never heard of. And third, the Alpha King had just claimed me in front of 500 witnesses, and I had absolutely no say in the matter. Chapter 1. The Claiming. The morning had started so normally. I'd woken in my small cottage on the edge of Millbrook Valley, tended my herb garden, and headed to the weekly market with nothing more dangerous on my mind than haggling over the price of dried lavender. At 26, my life had settled into a comfortable rhythm, quiet, safe, predictable, and the gods must have been laughing. The market square buzzed with its usual chaos, vendors hawking fresh bread, children weaving between stalls, the smell of roasted nuts mixing with autumn leaves. I was examining a particularly nice bunch of sage when I felt it, a tug at my skirt. I looked down into the most heartbreaking face I'd ever seen. The boy couldn't have been more than 5, with wild auburn curls that desperately needed a mother's attention and freckles scattered across his nose like constellation. But it was his eyes that stopped my heart, huge, emerald green, and filled with a loneliness so profound it hurt to see. In his small fist, he clutched a slightly crushed daisy. "For you," he whispered, holding it up like an offering. His voice was so soft I had to kneel to hear him properly. "You're really pretty. Will you marry me? I have shiny rocks I can give you, and a blue one and a red one that sparkles." My heart melted instantly. I'd always had a weakness for children, probably because I'd spent so many years knowing I'd never have my own. The fever that nearly killed me at 16 had left me barren. The healers had been very clear about that. "Well, aren't you the sweetest thing?" I smiled, taking the flower with exaggerated ceremony. "What's your name, brave one?" "Isaac," he said, puffing out his small chest with pride. "Isaac Owens. I'm almost 6. Oh, and Papa says I'm brave like a warrior even though I get sick sometimes." Something flickered across his face, a shadow of pain or fear, but it vanished so quickly I thought I'd imagined it. "Isaac the Brave," I echoed, tucking the daisy behind my ear. "I'm Molly, and I'd be honored to accept your proposal, but only if you promise to show me those shiny rocks someday." His face lit up like sunrise. "Really? You mean it?" "I never break a promise." "Neither do I," a deep voice said from directly behind me. Every hair on my body stood on end. The voice was silk over steel, authority and danger wrapped in careful control. I turned slowly, still kneeling beside Isaac, and found myself staring at a pair of black leather boots that probably cost more than my entire cottage. My gaze traveled up, and up. Tall didn't begin to describe him. He towered over the crowd, broad-shouldered and powerfully built, wearing dark riding leathers that marked him as nobility, or something more dangerous. His hair was black as midnight, falling in waves that brushed his collar, a strong jaw, sharp cheekbones, and a mouth that looked like it rarely smiled. But his eyes, gods, his eyes, the same emerald green as Isaac's, but where the child's held innocence, these held centuries of knowledge, power, and something that made my wolf, silent for years, suddenly wake with a whimper of recognition. You accepted his proposal," the man said, and though his voice was quiet, it carried to every corner of the market square. Conversations died. People turned to stare. "In public witness, before 500 souls." I stood slowly, confused. It was just a child's game. A flower? Exactly. His lips curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. A royal child's flower, offered in public square, accepted by a woman of age. He stepped closer, and the crowd parted like water around him. Do you know the ancient laws of this kingdom, Molly Stewart? My blood turned cold. He knew my full name. And the way people were backing away, the way guards I hadn't noticed before were suddenly forming a circle around us. No, I whispered. Then allow me to educate you. He moved with predatory grace until he stood directly before me, close enough that I could smell cedar and winter wind on his skin. Royal decree. An era of the first kings. Any woman who accepts a blood heir's public marriage proposal is bound by sacred oath to the ruling family. The bond is immediate, unbreakable. His hand rose, and I flinched, but he only gently straightened the daisy behind my ear. Congratulations. You've just agreed to become my queen. The market square erupted in gasps and whispers. I stumbled backward. That's insane. That law can't possibly still— It's inscribed in the founding stones of the palace. His eyes never left mine. Enforced by every Alpha King for 3,000 years, including me. Who? My voice came out as a croak. Who are you? Isaac giggled, completely oblivious to my panic. That's my papa. He's the Alpha King. Isn't he big? The world tilted. Carol Flowers, the Alpha King, ruler of the Northern Territories, commander of 10,000 wolves, is the most powerful shifter in 5 kingdoms, unmarried since his wife's death 6 years ago, ruthless in battle, unmovable in judgment, and apparently completely out of his mind. This is a mistake, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm nobody. A healer in a small village. You can't possibly— I can. I have. And I will. He signaled to the guards. Captain Douglas, please escort my future queen to the palace. Ensure she has everything she needs. The wedding will be in 3 days. 3 days? My voice hit a pitch that probably scared birds from trees. You can't be serious! For the first time, emotion flickered across his face, something dark and possessive that made my knees weak. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. He leaned down until his mouth was level with my ear, his voice dropping to a whisper only I could hear. You're mine now, Molly. Fight it if you need to. Hate me if it helps. But you will be in that palace, in my chambers, wearing my ring before the week is out. He pulled back, and the shutters slammed down over his expression again. Take her, he commanded. Gently. She's had a shock. Hands, respectful but firm, grasped my arms. I was being moved toward a carriage I hadn't noticed before, expensive and bearing the royal crest. Wait! I twisted, looking back at Isaac. The little boy was watching with huge, hopeful eyes. You'll see him tonight, Carol said, as lifting his son into his arms with surprising tenderness. We share chambers, all 3 of us. It's tradition for the royal family to remain together until the wedding. Share chambers, with him, starting tonight. I was still trying to process that bombshell when the guards helped me into the carriage. The door closed with a final sounding click. Through the window, I watched Carol say something to Isaac that made the boy beam. And then those emerald eyes found mine one last time across the crowded square. He smiled, actually smiled, and somehow that was more terrifying than everything else combined. Chapter 2. The First Night. The palace was a fortress of stone and power that made my cottage look like a child's playhouse. Guards escorted me through corridors lined with tapestries depicting centuries of wolf kings, past servants who stopped and stared, up marble staircases that seemed designed to remind visitors of their insignificance. I'd lost count of the turns when we finally stopped before massive double doors carved with running wolves. The king's private chambers, Captain Douglas announced. His tone was carefully neutral, but I caught the flicker of sympathy in his eyes. He's requested you make yourself comfortable. Your belongings are being retrieved from your cottage. How generous of him to let me have my own clothes, I muttered. The captain's mouth twitched. He's not a monster, Miss Stewart, just determined. The doors opened before I could respond. The chambers were enormous. Was a sitting room with the fireplace large enough to roast a pig, shelves lined with books, Windows overlooking mountains I'd only ever seen from a distance. Through an archway, I glimpsed a bedroom with a bed that could sleep 5 people comfortably. One bed, my stomach dropped. "The king will join you after he settles young Isaac," a maid said, curtsying. She was older, with kind eyes. "Is there anything you need? Bath? Food? Tea? A way out?" I tried to joke, but it came out desperate. And she smiled sadly. "I'm Janice, miss. I've served this house for 30 years. The king, he's a good man, fair, protective of those he loves." She hesitated. "Whatever his reasons for this, I promise you're safe here." Safe. What a relative term. After she left, I explored like a caged animal searching for weak points. The windows were too high to jump from without breaking bones. The doors, I tested them carefully, weren't locked, but guards stood at attention just outside. Not prisoners. Their posture said, protection. I was examining a bookshelf when I heard it. A child's laughter, bright and genuine, coming from the hallway. The doors burst open. Isaac ran in like he owned the place, which, technically, he did, still wearing his market clothes, curls even more disheveled. When he saw me, his whole face transformed. "Moon Lady, you're really here!" He crashed into my legs, hugging with the fierce intensity only children possess. "Papa said you were, but I had to see. Are you staying forever now?" "Moon Lady?" "I'm not sure what's happening, Isaac." "You're gonna be my new mama," he said simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. He grabbed my hand and tugged. "Come see my room. It's right next to Papa's. Well, next to your room now. But Papa says we're all family, so it doesn't matter." Carol appeared in the doorway, having traded his riding leathers for simpler clothes that somehow made him look more dangerous, not less. Without all the formal trappings, I could see the warrior underneath, scars on his forearms, calluses on his hands, the way he moved with lethal grace. "Isaac, give her space to breathe," he said, but his tone was gentle. "But Papa, I have to show her my rock collection, and my wolf carving, and after dinner." Carol's eyes met mine. "I thought we could eat together, the 3 of us, talk about everything." Everything, right. Like how he'd trapped me with an ancient law and expected me to just accept it. But Isaac was looking up at me with such hope that I couldn't bring myself to start a fight in front of him. "Dinner sounds fine," I managed. The meal was set up in the sitting room rather than some formal dining hall. Small mercies. Isaac chattered constantly, filling the silence with stories about his rock collection, his wooden wolf carving, how he'd convinced the cook to make honey cakes for dessert. I noticed things, though. The way he'd pause mid-sentence sometimes, breathing carefully. How Carol watched him with an intensity that bordered on fear. The untouched tonic beside Isaac's plate that smelled of strengthening herbs. "Isaac," I said carefully, remembering what he'd said in the market, "you mentioned getting sick sometimes?" The boy's smile dimmed slightly. "Just funny tired. Papa says it's nothing." "It's not nothing." Carol's voice was tight. Yet he set down his fork with deliberate control. "Which is why you're here." I blinked. "What?" "Isaac, time for bed," Carol said. "But Papa—" "Now, Janice is waiting to help you wash up." Something in his tone brooked no argument. Isaac hugged me goodnight, another fierce squeeze that made my chest ache, and scampered off. The moment the door closed, the careful mask Carol had been wearing cracked. "He's dying," he said flatly. The words hit like a physical blow. "What?" "Dying. The healers call it a fading bond, a curse that attacks royal bloodlines. It's been killing him slowly for 8 months." He stood, paced to the window with barely contained violence. "I've tried everything. Every healer, every ritual, every God's damned remedy from here to the southern wastes. Nothing works." "I don't understand what this has to do with you." He turned, and the raw desperation in his eyes stopped my breath. "The curse feeds on broken family bonds. Isaac's mother died in childbirth. He's been slowly fading ever since, getting worse every year. The only thing that can save him is a complete family unit. Father, mother, child, bound by law and magic." Understanding crashed over me like cold water. "So you used your son as bait?" "Yes." No apology, no shame, just brutal honesty. I've been searching for someone compatible with the family magic for 2 years, someone Isaac would accept as a mother, someone strong enough to anchor the bond. His jaw tightened. And then 3 months ago, I heard rumors of a healer in Millbrook Valley, dark hair, quiet power, a wolf who'd gone silent but wasn't dead. My hand flew to my throat. You've been watching me. I had to be sure, had to wait for the right moment. He took a step closer. I brought Isaac to that market specifically. Let him wander. Knew he'd find the kindest face in the crowd. Another step. You passed every test, Molly. And when you accepted that flower with such genuine warmth, when Isaac lit up like I haven't seen in months, I knew. You manipulated everything. Anger was building now, hot and righteous. The flower, the law, this whole insane... I'm saving my son's life. His voice cracked on the last word. Damn me for it if you want. Hate me. Fight me. But I will not apologize for doing whatever it takes to keep him breathing. The raw pain in his voice caught me off guard. This wasn't some cold political marriage. This was a father watching his child die and grasping at the only lifeline he could find. Even if that lifeline was me. How long does he have? I whispered. Weeks. Maybe a month? Carol's hands clenched into fists. The curse accelerates as the full moon approaches. The wedding must happen before then, and the family bond must be completed or... He couldn't finish the sentence. I sank onto the couch, mind reeling. A dying child, a desperate father, and me, trapped in the middle of it all. What happens if I refuse? I had to ask, even though I already knew the answer. The ancient law is binding. You'd be held here regardless. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. But Isaac would know. Children always know when they're not wanted. The bond wouldn't form properly, and he'd die wondering why his moon lady didn't love him enough to stay. Bastard. He knew exactly which strings to pull. Moon lady? I asked hollowly. And something almost like a smile touched his lips. He's been dreaming of you for months. Ever since the curse worsened, he'd wake up crying about a lady made of moonlight who sang to him in the dark. I thought it was fever dreams until he stopped. Until you. A chill ran down my spine. That's not possible. The curse creates strange magic. Maybe it showed him what he needed to survive. Carol moved to the couch, sitting carefully on the opposite end, close but not touching. I know this isn't fair to you. I know I've taken your choice away, but I'm asking... His voice dropped. I'm begging. Please. 3 days. Let the ceremony happen. Let the bond form. Save my son. I looked at this powerful man, this alpha king who commanded armies, literally begging me to save his child. And after? I forced myself to ask. After he's healed? You'd be queen, with all the rights and protections that entails. He held my gaze. I won't force you to share my bed. The bond only requires family magic, not intimacy. We can have separate chambers if you want, live separate lives. Separate lives? In the same palace. Married, but not really. Saving a child, but losing my freedom forever. I need time to think, I said. You have until morning. He stood, then paused. The bed is yours. I'll sleep out here. This is your room. And you're my guest, unwilling or not. He grabbed a blanket from a chest. The doors aren't locked. You can explore the palace if you can't sleep, but please... His voice roughened. Please don't run. If not for me, then for Isaac. Let him have tonight thinking his moon lady is real. He settled onto the couch without another word, turning his back to give me privacy. I stood there for a long moment, watching this strange, desperate king try to fold his large frame onto furniture not meant for sleeping. Then I went into the bedroom and closed the door. Sleep didn't come. How could it? My mind spun with impossible choices, trapped fates, and the memory of a little boy's hopeful eyes. Sometime after midnight, I heard it. A cry from down the hall. Isaac. I was moving before I thought about it, opening my door, following the sound. The guards didn't stop me. Isaac's room was smaller than the main chambers, but still lavish. The boy thrashed in his bed, tangled in sheets, whimpering words I couldn't make out. Carol was already there, sitting on the edge of the bed, trying to soothe him. "I'm here, brave one. Papa's here." But Isaac's eyes, wild and glazed with fever, didn't see him. "Moon Lady," he sobbed. "Where's the Moon Lady? She promised she wouldn't leave." My heart shattered. I crossed the room and climbed onto the other side of the bed. "I'm here, Isaac. I'm right here." His eyes found mine, and something in them cleared. "You came back." "I promised, didn't I?" I brushed sweat-soaked curls from his forehead. And I never break my promises." He reached for me with trembling hands. I gathered him close, and he buried his face against my shoulder with a shuddering sigh. "Don't go," he whispered. "Please don't go like Mama did." Over his head, my eyes met Carol's. In the lamplight, I saw the truth written in every line of his face. This wasn't about power or politics or even ancient laws. This was about a father who would burn the world down to save his son, and a child who'd somehow chosen me as his lifeline. "I won't go," I heard myself say. "I'll stay right here." Isaac's breathing slowly evened out. But he didn't let go, and I couldn't bring myself to pull away. Carol reached across his son to adjust the blanket. His hand brushed mine, and I felt it. A spark of something electric and terrifying and inevitable. "Thank you," he whispered. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because in that moment, I realized I'd already made my choice. I was going to stay. Gods help me, I was going to marry the Alpha King. Chapter 3. The moment I stopped running. I woke with a small elbow in my ribs and auburn curls tickling my nose. Sometime during the night, all three of us had ended up in Isaac's bed. The boy sprawled between Carol and me like a starfish, one hand fisted in my nightgown, the other clutching his father's shirt. Morning light streamed through the windows, turning the child's hair to fire. Carol was already awake, watching us with an expression I couldn't read. He hasn't slept through the night in months," he said quietly. "Not until now." Isaac stirred, yawning widely. His eyes opened, found me, and lit up with pure joy. "You stayed! Papa, she stayed!" "I see that." There was something in Carol's voice, relief, wonder, and underneath it all, a possessive satisfaction that made my skin prickle. "Can we have breakfast together?" Isaac sat up, suddenly energized. "And then can Molly see my rocks? And maybe—" He stopped mid-sentence. His face went blank. Empty. Then he crumpled. Carol caught him before he hit the mattress, but I saw the terror flash across his face. "Isaac! Isaac! Look at me!" The boy's eyes had rolled back, showing only whites. His small body went rigid, back arching, fingers clawing at nothing. "What's happening?" I reached for him, and the moment my hands touched his skin, I felt it. Something dark and twisted wrapped around his life force like poisoned vines, squeezing. A power I didn't know I possessed surged through my palms. Instinct took over. I pressed one hand to his chest, the other to his forehead, and pulled. The darkness resisted, fought back. But I was stronger, fueled by desperation and something older than conscious thought. My wolf, silent for so long, suddenly roared to life inside me. The poisoned magic released with a snap I felt in my bones. Isaac gasped, color flooding back into his face. His eyes focused, found mine, and filled with tears. Mama?" The word was barely a whisper. My heart stopped, started again differently. "I'm here, brave one. You're okay now." He threw himself at me, sobbing into my shoulder. It hurt. It hurt so much, but then you made it stop. You made the scary dark go away." Over his head, Carol stared at me with something between shock and reverence. "How did you do that?" His voice was hoarse. "The healers couldn't even touch the curse. They said it was too deeply embedded." "I don't know. My hands were shaking. I couldn't let it take him." Carol reached out, his hand covering mine where it rested on Isaac's back. The contact sent electricity racing up my arm. "Thank you. Gods, Molly, thank you. Isaac pulled back enough to look at me, small hands framing my face. You're really her, the moon lady from my dreams. Papa said you'd save me, and you did. Your papa was right. I managed a wobbly smile. But we need to get you checked by the healers. Make sure— No. Isaac's grip tightened. They poke and prod and make things worse. You fixed it. You're the only one who can fix it. His lower lip trembled. Please don't make me go to the healers. Please, Mama. There it was again. Mama. I looked helplessly at Carol. He nodded once. If she says no healers, then no healers. But his jaw tightened. We need to prepare for it to happen again. Oh, the curse won't give up easily. Then teach me. The words came out before I'd thought them through. If I'm going to be stuck here anyway, if I'm supposed to save him, then teach me how to protect myself, how to fight. Something dangerous flickered in Carol's eyes. You want combat training? I want to not be helpless. I lifted my chin. You said I'd be queen. Queens should know how to defend themselves, or shouldn't they? A slow smile spread across his face, the first real smile I'd seen from him. It transformed him from intimidating to devastating. After breakfast, he said, I'll teach you myself. The training grounds were behind the palace, a wide courtyard surrounded by high walls. Carol had changed into fitted training gear that left very little to the imagination. I tried not to notice the way the fabric clung to his shoulders, the play of muscles in his arms as he selected practice weapons from a rack. Isaac sat on the sidelines with Janice, who'd agreed to watch him. The boy waved enthusiastically. Make Papa work hard, Mama. I was still getting used to that title. Basic defensive stance first, Carol said, moving behind me. His hands settled on my hips, adjusting my position, and every nerve ending I possessed fired at once. Feet shoulder-width apart, weight balanced. His breath stirred my hair. His chest was inches from my back. The heat of him was overwhelming. Like this? My voice came out breathier than intended. Exactly like that. His hands slid up to my shoulders, positioning them. You're stronger than you think. I felt it this morning when you pulled the curse off Isaac. That kind of power doesn't come from nowhere. I don't understand it. My wolf has been silent since— I caught myself. Since? His voice was gentle, but his hands tightened slightly. Since I was 16. A fever nearly killed me. When I recovered, my wolf was gone, locked away where I couldn't reach her. Until this morning. He moved around to face me, and the intensity in his eyes made my stomach flip. Isaac woke her up. The need to protect him broke whatever cage she was in. Is that possible? With curse magic? Anything's possible. He picked up a training staff, handed me one. Now, defend yourself. He came at me fast, but not so fast I couldn't track it. I blocked awkwardly, the impact jarring my arms. He circled, attacked again. I blocked, stumbled, blocked again. Stop thinking, he commanded. Trust your instincts. We went through the forms for an hour. By the end, I was sweating, panting, but something inside me had awakened. My wolf paced restlessly, eager for more. Again, I demanded when he called for a break. Carol's eyes darkened. You're exhausted. Again. He moved faster this time, putting real force behind the blows. I met him strike for strike, and my body remembering things I'd never learned. When he swept my legs out from under me, I twisted, using the momentum to roll away and spring back up. Good, he growled. The word vibrated with approval. Again. This time, when he attacked, I went on the offensive. Struck high, ducked under his counter, swept low. My staff cracked against his ribs, pulled at the last second but hard enough to make a point. We froze, both breathing hard, weapons locked between us. Where did you learn that? His voice was rough, pupils dilated. I didn't. I just knew. Your wolf. He was so close I could see gold flecks in his green eyes. She's a fighter, been caged too long. Like me, I whispered. Something shifted in his expression, raw hunger mixed with iron restraint. Molly. I didn't let him finish. Didn't let myself think. I closed the distance between us and kissed him. For half a heartbeat, he went absolutely still. Yet then he made a sound low in his throat, half growl, half groan, and kissed me back like a man starving. His staff clattered to the ground. His hands came up to frame my face, angling my head to deepen the kiss. I dropped my own weapon, fisting my hands in his shirt, pulling him closer. It wasn't gentle, wasn't tentative. It was desperate and demanding, and tasted like salt and cedar and 7 kinds of dangerous. When he backed me against the courtyard wall, I didn't protest. When his hands slid into my hair, tilting my head back so he could trail his mouth down my throat, I arched into the touch. 3 days, he muttered against my skin. 3 days until you're mine by every law, every right, every... Reality crashed back. I shoved him away hard enough that he stumbled. Stop! He stared at me, chest heaving, lips swollen from my kiss, looking like temptation incarnate. This is exactly what you want, isn't it? My voice shook with anger, at him, at myself. Trap me with the law. Make me care about Isaac. Seduce me into accepting this whole insane situation. That's not... Don't. I held up a hand. I know what this is. A bargain. A business arrangement to save your son. You don't get to muddy it with... I gestured helplessly between us. With whatever this is. This, he said, voice dropping to something dangerous, is a mate bond. Snapping into place whether either of us wants it or not. The words hit like a slap. What? You felt it. Yet the moment you accepted Isaac's flower, something clicked. I thought it was just the family magic, but it's more. He took a step toward me. I held my ground. Every time we touch, every time I'm close to you, can you honestly say you don't feel it? It doesn't matter what I feel, but my voice lacked conviction. You trapped me, used your son as bait. I can't. Papa? Mama? Isaac's small voice cut through the tension. Why are you fighting? We both turned. The boy stood a few feet away, having slipped away from Janice, his face crumpled with worry. Are you gonna leave like the other ladies? Tears spilled down his cheeks. Papa brought other ladies to meet me before. They all left when I got sick. They said I was too much trouble, that they didn't want a broken... No. I was on my knees in front of him before I'd made the conscious decision to move. Isaac, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. But you're mad at Papa. Grown-ups can be angry with each other and still stay, I said, pulling him into my arms. I promise you, brave one. I promise I'm staying. He buried his face in my shoulder. Even when I get funny tired again, even when the scary dark comes back. Especially then. I kissed the top of his head. Because you're mine now, and I protect what's mine. Over Isaac's head, my eyes met Carol's. The raw emotion in his face, gratitude, desire, and possession, and something deeper I didn't want to name, made my breath catch. Always, Carol said quietly. She'll always protect you. Won't you, Molly? It was both a question and a challenge. Always, I heard myself agree. Isaac pulled back, scrubbing at his tears. So you'll do the wedding? And be my real mama? And stay forever? I looked at this child who'd somehow burrowed into my heart in less than 24 hours, at the father who'd moved heaven and earth to save him, at the impossible situation I'd stumbled into. Yes, I said. I'll do the wedding. Isaac's whoop of joy echoed off the courtyard walls. He threw his arms around both of us, forcing Carol and me into an awkward 3-person embrace. And when Carol's hand found mine in the tangle of limbs, when his fingers threaded through mine and squeezed, I didn't pull away. The wedding was in 2 days. I'd agreed to marry a man I barely knew, bind myself to a dying child, and step into a role I'd never wanted. But when Isaac looked up at me with such absolute trust and love, when Carol's thumb traced circles on the back of my hand, I couldn't bring myself to regret it. Not yet, anyway. Chapter 4. The Rival Queen. The next morning I woke to chaos. Servants rushed through the corridors in a frenzy. Guards stood at attention with unusual stiffness. Even Janice, normally unflappable, looked rattled when she brought my breakfast tray. What's happening? I asked, noting she'd laid out formal clothes instead of the simple dress I'd requested. A visitor, miss. Her lips pressed into a thin line. From the southern provinces. She's demanded an audience with the king, and... She hesitated. And with you. Me? Why would... Because she claims to be Isaac's mother. The toast I'd been reaching for suddenly seemed very far away. That's impossible. Carol said his wife died in childbirth. Died, yes. Or so we all believed. Janice began helping me into a deep green gown that probably cost more than my cottage. But the woman downstairs has papers, royal seals, and... Her voice dropped to a whisper. She has Isaac's eyes. My stomach turned to ice. An hour later, I stood beside Carol in the throne room. He'd been coldly furious when he'd collected me from the chambers, jaw so tight I thought it might crack. Isaac was safely tucked away with trusted guards, kept far from whatever storm was brewing. The massive doors opened. She swept in like she owned the place, tall, elegant, with midnight black hair that cascaded down her back in perfect waves. Her gown was silk and gold. I cut to emphasize curves I could never hope to match. But it was her face that stopped my breath. Sharp cheekbones, full lips, and eyes the exact shade of emerald green as Isaac's. She was stunning, regal, everything a queen should be. Everything I wasn't. Carol, her voice was honey and smoke. It's been so long. Patricia, his voice could have frozen fire. You're supposed to be dead. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I've been, recuperating in the southern healing temples. The childbirth nearly killed me, but I survived. Barely. She moved closer, ignoring me entirely, her attention fixed on Carol like I didn't exist. I've spent 6 years healing, grieving, trying to find the strength to come home. Her hand reached out, touched his arm. He didn't pull away. And then I hear my husband is planning to marry some common village healer. That he's letting another woman raise my son? Your son? The words burst out of me before I could stop them. You abandoned him. For 6 years you let him think you were dead. Finally, those emerald eyes turned to me. The contempt in them was withering. And who are you? She looked me up and down slowly. Ah, the placeholder. How quaint. Patricia, Carol's voice held warning. You will show respect. Respect? To her? Patricia laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. I'm Isaac's mother. His true mother. I carried him, birthed him, nearly died bringing him into this world. What has she done? Accepted a flower? Played house for 2 days? Each word was a knife between my ribs because they were true. I had no claim to Isaac beyond a child's innocent proposal and an ancient law. She had biology, history, legitimacy. Where were you? I forced my voice steady. Where were you when he was crying for his mother in the middle of the night? When the curse was eating him alive? When he... Curse? Patricia's eyes widened, and for a moment, genuine alarm crossed her face. What curse? The fading bond. Carol's voice was ice. The one that's been killing our son for 8 months. Where were you then, Patricia? Something flickered in her expression. Surprise? Fear? It vanished too quickly to identify. I didn't know. The southern temples are isolated. News doesn't... She shook her head. It doesn't matter. I'm here now. And I'm taking my son home. No. The word came from me and Carol simultaneously. Patricia's eyes narrowed. You can't stop me. I have legal documents proving my identity, witness statements, royal seals from the southern provinces. By law, a mother's claim supersedes any marriage contract. Not when that mother abandoned her child for 6 years, Carol growled. I was healing. I nearly died. Her voice rose, cracking with emotion that seemed genuine. Do you know what it's like to wake up in a foreign healing temple, barely able to remember your own name? To spend years relearning how to walk, how to speak, how to be human again? She turned to the assembled court. I hadn't noticed them gathering, dozens of nobles and advisors watching this spectacle unfold. I fought my way back from the edge of death itself to reclaim my family, and now I find my husband has already moved on? Her voice broke beautifully. That he's replacing me with a woman who can never give him true heirs? Who can never— That's enough. Carol's power rolled through the room like thunder. You will not speak of her that way. Why? Because the truth hurts? Patricia's mask cracked, revealing the venom beneath. She's barren, Carol. Everyone knows it. The fever that took her wolf also took her ability to bear children. She can play pretend with Isaac, but she'll never give you sons of your own blood. And never secure the succession. The room spun. I felt every eye turn to me, weighing, judging. My deepest shame laid bare before strangers. Get out! Carol's voice was lethal quiet. This is my home. You lost the right to call it that when you let us believe you were dead. He descended from the throne, and even Patricia took a step back from the fury in his face. You want to claim Isaac? Fine. Well, we'll let him choose. He's 5 years old. He's old enough to know who held him through nightmares, who healed him when the curse attacked, who chose to stay when everyone else ran. Carol's hand found mine, squeezed. Bring him in. Carol, no, I whispered. Don't make him choose between us. That's not fair to him. Life isn't fair. But his eyes softened when they met mine. But it should be honest. The doors opened. Isaac walked in, flanked by guards. Is looking tiny in this massive throne room. His eyes found Carol first, then me, then— He stopped dead. Mama? The word was barely audible. Patricia's face transformed, tears spilling down her cheeks. Yes, baby. Yes, it's me. I've come back for you. I've come to take you home. But Isaac wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me, confusion and fear warring on his small face. Isaac, Carol said gently, kneeling to his level. This woman says she's your mother. Your first mother. At the one who birthed you. Isaac's brow furrowed. He looked at Patricia with the solemn assessment only children possess. You look like my dreams, the before dreams, before the funny tired. Yes, Patricia took a step forward. You remember me. But Isaac's hand found mine, gripped tight. But you left. You went away and never came back. Mama says people who love you don't leave. The rejection hit Patricia like a physical blow. I didn't want to leave, sweetheart. I was sick. So sick I couldn't come back until now. She held out her arms. But I'm here now. Don't you want to come home with me? Isaac looked up at me. Is she really my first mama? I wanted to lie. Wanted to tell him she was an imposter, a fraud, anything to keep him close. But children deserved truth. I think she might be, I said softly. And if she is, then you have two mamas who love you very much. Can you both be my mamas? His voice was so hopeful it hurt. I like how some kids have two grandmas. Patricia made a strangled sound. That's not how it works, Isaac. You need to choose, her or me. No. Carol's voice was firm. He doesn't. Patricia, if you are who you claim to be, then you have legal rights. But they don't erase what Molly has done for him, what she is to him. So what? Patricia's voice turned shrill. We share him? Take turns? That's absurd. Then what do you propose? Carol challenged. She lifted her chin, and in something calculating entered her eyes. A trial. By ancient law. When two women claim the same child, they undergo 3 trials to prove their worth as mothers. Whoever wins 2 out of 3 claims full custody. The court gasped. Even Carol looked shocked. Those laws haven't been invoked in centuries, he said. But they still stand. Patricia smiled coldly. Unless she's afraid to compete? Unless she knows she can't possibly win against his true mother? Every instinct screamed at me to refuse. I wasn't a queen, wasn't trained for courtly games. I'd lose, and Isaac would be taken from me. But when I looked down at the small hand clutching mine, at the fear in those emerald eyes, I knew I didn't have a choice. I accept, I said. Carol's hand tightened on mine. Molly, I accept, I repeated louder. Name your trials. Patricia's smile was triumphant. 3 days from now, and the first trial will test knowledge, how well you truly know Isaac. The second will test sacrifice, how much you're willing to give up for him. The third will test love itself. And if I win? You won't. Her eyes glittered with malicious certainty. But if by some miracle you do, I'll leave peacefully. And if I win, she looked at Carol. I reclaim my position as queen, my son, my life, all of it. The room erupted in whispers. Carol looked like he wanted to tear something apart. But Isaac squeezed my hand and whispered, "You can do it, Mama. You're the bravest." I knelt down, pulled him close. "I love you, brave one. I love you too." He pulled back, eyes shining. "Both my mamas." Over his head, my eyes met Patricia's. The hatred there was palpable. This wasn't just about Isaac anymore. This was about power, position, and a woman who'd lost everything and wanted it back. 3 days, I said. 3 days, she agreed. As the court dispersed, and as Carol led Isaac away to explain what was happening, Patricia caught my arm. "You can't win," she whispered. "You're nothing, a barren healer playing dress-up. I've spent 6 years preparing for this moment. I know things about Isaac you couldn't possibly know, about Carol, about the curse itself." "Then why are you so worried?" I pulled my arm free. "If you're so certain you'll win, why threaten me?" Her perfect mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something desperate and slightly unhinged beneath. "Because he's mine," she hissed, "and I'm taking back everything you stole." She swept away, leaving me standing alone in the throne room, wondering what I'd just agreed to, and why, despite her claims of being Isaac's mother, something about Patricia Tate felt wrong. Very, very wrong. Chapter 5. The Intimate Demand. That night, I couldn't sleep. The chambers felt too large, too empty, even though Carol was only 1 room away. Isaac had been allowed to sleep between us again, his request, and neither of us had the heart to refuse after the day's chaos. I stared at the ceiling, watching shadows dance, my mind spinning through everything Patricia had said, the way she'd looked at Isaac, the calculation behind her tears. Something wasn't right. "You're thinking too loud," Carol's voice came from the darkness. I turned my head. He was propped on one elbow, watching me over Isaac's sleeping form. The moonlight turned his features into something otherworldly. "Can't help it. 3 days to prepare for trials I know nothing about, against a woman who seems to know every pressure point to hit." I sighed. How am I supposed to compete with his actual mother? By being yourself. He reached across Isaac, his hand finding mine. She can claim biology all she wants, but you're the one he calls for in the night. You're the one who pulled the curse off him when no one else could. That might not be enough. Then we make it enough. His thumb traced circles on my palm, sending shivers up my arm. Tomorrow, we start preparing. I'll tell you everything I know about the maternal trials. Janice will help. She's served this house long enough to remember the old ways. And if I still lose? His hand tightened on mine. You won't. I won't let that happen. You might not have a choice. There's always a choice. Something dark and possessive flickered in his eyes. I told you before. You're mine now. That means I protect what's mine, no matter what. The intensity in his voice made my breath catch. Carol. Isaac stirred between us, mumbling in his sleep. We both froze, but he just rolled over, one small hand reaching out to clutch my nightgown. He knows, Carol whispered. On some level? He knows you're his. That's why the bond formed so quickly. Why your magic could touch his curse when trained healers couldn't. I don't understand any of this. The magic, the bond, why me? I've been researching since you arrived. He shifted slightly, careful not to disturb Isaac. The fading bond curse is ancient, designed to target royal bloodlines specifically. Only someone outside the bloodline can anchor the cure. But it has to be someone the child's soul recognizes as parent. Soul recognizes? Children see clearer than adults. They know who's safe, who loves them, who will stay. His eyes held mine in the darkness. Isaac chose you the moment he saw you. His soul recognized yours. That's why the Moon Lady dreams started. His magic was literally searching for you. The words settled over me like a physical weight. That's impossible. So is a Baron Wolf suddenly manifesting healing powers strong enough to fight curse magic? His lips quirked. Yet here we are. He had a point. I'm scared, I admitted quietly. Of the trials. Of losing him. Of... I couldn't finish. Of me? His voice dropped lower. Of this thing between us that neither of us asked for? Yes. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, carefully, he pulled his hand back. I'll give you space. After the trials, after everything settles. As if you want separate chambers. I didn't say that. Then what do you want, Molly? The question hung in the air between us. What did I want? 2 days ago, I'd wanted my quiet life in the village. Now? I want Isaac safe, healed, happy. I paused. And I want to understand what's happening between us, this mate bond or whatever it is. I want to know if it's real or just magic forcing us together. It's real. No hesitation. I've felt it since the moment you accepted that flower, as like something clicking into place that I didn't know was broken. But you used the law to trap me. How can I trust? You can't. His honesty was brutal. I did trap you. I won't apologize for it because it saved my son's life, but I can promise you this. The bond, the way I feel when you're near, the need to protect you, possess you, keep you close, that's all real. That's all me, not the magic. His words sent heat curling through my belly. Carol. 3 days, he said, echoing Patricia's timeline. Win the trials. Save Isaac, then decide if you want to explore this thing between us, or if you want separate lives under the same roof. Either way, his voice roughened. Either way, you're still mine. Mate bond or not. You're my queen, Isaac's mother, and I'll burn the kingdom down before I let anyone take you from us. The possessiveness should have scared me. Instead, it made something primal inside me purr with satisfaction. That's not healthy, I whispered. Probably not. His smile was sharp in the darkness. But we're wolves. We don't do healthy. We do loyal. Possessive. Forever. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. I was breaking fast with Isaac. Carol had left early for council meetings when Janice announced a guest. The High Priestess is here, miss. She says she needs to speak with you about the trials. An elderly woman swept into the room, robes covered in moon symbols, white hair braided with silver threads. Her eyes, though clouded with age, seemed to see straight through me. Molly Stewart, she said, voice raspy but commanding. The wolf who walks between worlds. Isaac looked up from his honeycakes. Are you a witch? Isaac, I admonished, but the priestess laughed. Smart boy. Yes, child, I deal in old magic, the kind that remembers when wolves ran free and laws were written in starlight. She settled into a chair without invitation. I've come to explain what you've agreed to. The maternal trials. Yes, though they're not quite what Patricia claimed. Her lips pursed. The trials don't determine who loves the child more. They determine who the child's soul is bonded to, who he needs to survive. My stomach dropped. I don't understand. The first trial tests knowledge, yes, but not facts any mother could learn. It tests instinct, soul knowledge, and the ability to know what he needs before he asks. The second trial tests sacrifice, but not what you're willing to give up. It tests what you're willing to become, how far you'll transform yourself for his sake. And the third? My voice was barely a whisper. The third is the cruelest. It tests love by forcing you to let go. Her clouded eyes found mine. To prove you love him more than yourself, you must be willing to walk away if that's what's best for him. Horror crawled up my spine. Well, that's barbaric. It's necessary. The bond between mother and child must be unselfish, unconditional, strong enough to withstand anything. She leaned forward. Patricia knows this. She's been preparing. But you have something she doesn't. What? His trust, his heart, his soul's recognition. The priestess stood. But I must warn you, If you win these trials, if the bond solidifies completely, there's no breaking it. Ever. You become his mother in every way magic recognizes. Bound to him, to Carol, to this pack. Your old life ends. It already has, I said quietly. Perhaps. But this is different. The maternal bond, once complete, ties your life force to his. If he dies, part of you dies. If he's in pain, you feel it. If he needs you, no power on earth can keep you from him. Her expression softened. It's a beautiful prison, child. Are you certain you want this? I looked at Isaac, who was watching this exchange with solemn eyes. Mama, he said softly, you don't have to do the trials if you don't want to. I'll be okay. The selflessness in those words shattered something in my chest. Yes, I told the priestess, never taking my eyes off Isaac. I'm certain. She nodded. Then there's one more thing you must know. The curse on Isaac, it's not natural. Someone cast it deliberately, and the only person who can fully break it is the one who cast it in the first place. The room went cold. You're saying someone cursed him? On purpose? Yes. Is someone with access to the royal family. Someone who knew enough about bloodline magic to craft something this specific. She moved to the door. Find who cast the curse, and you'll find who wants this child dead. My guess? It's someone who benefits from his death. She left as abruptly as she'd arrived. I stared at the closed door, mind racing. Someone had deliberately cursed Isaac, someone close enough to the family to— Mama? Isaac tugged on my sleeve. You look scared. I forced a smile. Just thinking, brave one. But my mind was spinning with implications. Patricia showed up exactly when the curse was worsening. Patricia, who claimed to have been healing in southern temples famous for their dark magic practitioners. Patricia, who seemed surprised about the curse but recovered too quickly. Patricia, who would become queen again if Isaac died and I was disgraced. I needed to talk to Carol, now. I found him in his study, surrounded by ancient texts, and he looked up when I burst in, something softening in his expression. I was just about to send for you. I found something about the trials. Someone cursed Isaac deliberately, I interrupted. The high priestess was here. She said the curse was cast by someone close to the family, someone who benefits from his death. Carol went very still. Patricia. It makes sense. She shows up right when he's weakest. Jay claims she's been in southern healing temples, but those temples are also known for dark magic. She wants her position back, but she can't have it while I'm here and Isaac is bonded to me. So, she cursed her own son? His voice was lethal quiet. Or— a horrible thought occurred to me. Or Isaac isn't her son at all. The words hung in the air like poison. Carol stood slowly. Explain. The priestess said the trials test soul bonds, real bonds. If Patricia isn't his true mother, as if she somehow stole him or— I struggled to articulate the theory forming. What if she's been lying about everything? What if she has Isaac's eyes because she's related to your bloodline somehow, but she's not his mother? That would mean— Carol's face drained of color. Gods, if she cursed him, if she's been planning this, then the trials aren't about proving she's his mother. They're about making sure I can't be, so the bond can't form and he dies anyway. We stared at each other, at the implications crashing over us like waves. We need proof, I said. Before the trials, we need to prove she's lying. And if we can't, then I win the trials anyway. I lifted my chin. Because I am his mother, in every way that matters, and no curse, no scheme, no fake queen is taking him from me. Carol crossed the room in 3 strides and kissed me. It was hard, claiming, desperate. His hands framed my face like he was afraid I'd disappear. When he pulled back, his eyes were molten. Oh, I was wrong, he said roughly. Before, when I said I used the law to trap you. You did. No, the law gave me an excuse, but the truth— His thumb traced my lower lip. I've been waiting for you my whole life. I just didn't know it until I saw you kneel for my son with such gentle kindness. Until I watched you fight curse magic with nothing but love and will. Until— I kissed him this time, cutting off the words that were too much, too soon, too everything. But when he pulled me closer, when his hand slid into my hair and tilted my head back so he could deepen the kiss, I didn't pull away. Because maybe he was right. Maybe this was fate. Maybe I'd been waiting for them too. Chapter 6. The Dark Truth. The trials began at dawn. The courtyard had been transformed overnight. 3 ceremonial circles drawn in silver dust, torches burning despite the morning light. Nobles and advisors gathered in a semicircle to witness. Isaac stood between Carol and Captain Douglas, clutching a small wooden wolf he'd insisted on bringing. Patricia arrived dressed in flowing white, hair braided with pearls, looking every inch the wronged queen returned. And I wore deep crimson, Carol's choice. "Let them see you're a fighter," he'd said. The high priestess stood at the center, staff in hand. We gather to witness the trials of maternal bond. 2 women claim the child Isaac Owens. These trials will reveal which bond is true, which is destiny, which is lie. Patricia shot me a venomous glance. I held her gaze. The first trial, knowledge of the soul. The priestess gestured to the first circle. Each woman will answer 3 questions, not facts, but truths only a true mother would know. We stepped into the circle, Patricia on one side, me on the other. The silver dust began to glow. "Patricia Tate," the priestess intoned. "First question, what does the child fear most in the dark?" Patricia answered immediately. "Being alone. All children fear abandonment." The circle's glow remained steady. Not wrong, but not quite right either. "Molly Stewart, what does the child fear most in the dark?" I closed my eyes, and remembering nights holding Isaac through terrors. Not the dark itself, the silence. He's afraid no one will hear him if he calls for help, that he'll disappear and no one will notice. The circle flared bright gold. Isaac's small voice carried across the courtyard. "That's right. That's exactly right." Patricia's jaw tightened. Second question. Patricia Tate. What makes the child laugh hardest? Silly faces? Games? Playing with other children? The glow dimmed slightly. Molly Stewart, what makes the child laugh hardest? When his papa pretends to be fierce, but Isaac knows he's being soft underneath. When he catches the tough alpha king being gentle. I smiled at the memory. And when someone tickles the spot behind his left ear, the one he says makes his wolf wiggle. The circle blazed so bright people shielded their eyes. Isaac giggled. "Mama knows about the wiggle spot." 2 for 2. Patricia's face was turning red. Final question. Patricia Tate, when the child is sick and fading, what does he need most? Patricia's confidence wavered. Medicine, healing, a mother's care. The circle went dark. Molly Stewart, when the child is sick and fading, what does he need most? I thought of that first morning, of the curse wrapping around him, of what had pulled him back. Not to be alone. He needs to know someone's there, seeing him, holding him. He needs touch, skin contact that reminds him he's real, he's loved. He exists. My voice cracked. He needs to know he's worth fighting for. The circle exploded with golden light. Isaac broke free from Douglas and ran into the circle, crashing into my legs. "You see me, Mama. You always see me." I gathered him close, and when I looked up, Patricia's mask had cracked completely. Pure hatred blazed in those emerald eyes. "The first trial goes to Molly Stewart," the priestess announced. The crowd erupted in whispers. Carol's expression was fierce pride. The second trial, sacrifice and transformation." The priestess gestured to the second circle. "Each woman will face a choice, what they're willing to become for the child's sake." We moved to the new circle. This one pulsed with darker energy, blood red rather than gold. Patricia Tate, if Isaac needed you to give up your position, your title, your place in society to save his life, would you? Of course. Patricia's answer was immediate. A mother sacrifices everything for her child. The circle glowed red but didn't flare. Molly Stewart, if Isaac needed you to give up your position, your title, your place in society to save his life, would you? Yes. I didn't hesitate. I'd go back to my cottage, live as a commoner, give up everything. I never wanted the crown anyway. I only wanted him. The circle brightened, but still didn't flare. The priestess's eyes narrowed. Interesting. The trial demands more. She turned to Patricia. If saving Isaac meant bonding yourself to Carol permanently, becoming his mate in truth, body, soul, and magic, with no possibility of freedom, would you? Patricia went very still. That is, we were already married before, so... Answer the question. Yes, Patricia said, but her voice lacked conviction. Yes, I would. The circle dimmed to almost nothing. Molly Stewart. If saving Isaac meant bonding yourself to Carol permanently, becoming his mate in truth, body, soul, and magic, with no possibility of freedom, would you? My eyes found Carol's in the crowd. He stood frozen, every line of his body tense. Yes, I said quietly. I would bind myself to him forever if that's what Isaac needed. I would become whatever I needed to be. The circle exploded with crimson light so intense it turned the dawn sky red. But the priestess wasn't done. One final sacrifice, and each woman must offer something precious, something that defines who they are, to prove their love. She produced a ceremonial blade. Blood, freely given, but not just any blood. You must cut away a piece of your power, your magic, your very essence, and give it to the child. If your bond is true, he will absorb it and grow stronger. If it's false, the magic will reject him and cause pain. Patricia paled. Oh, that wasn't part of the traditional trials. The trials adapt to what's needed. The priestess's voice was iron. Will you sacrifice your power for him? Patricia stared at the blade. My power is all I have. Without it, I'm nothing. Then you're not his mother. The words came from Carol, stepping forward. A true mother would give everything, be nothing, become nothing, if it meant her child lived. Patricia's hands trembled. You don't understand. As the power is tied to my life force, to cut it away would weaken you but not kill you, the priestess finished. Unless you're lying about who you are, unless the power you carry isn't yours to give. The accusation hung in the air. Patricia backed away. This is a trap. You're all conspiring against me. I'll do it. I stepped forward, hand outstretched for the blade. Molly, no. Carol moved toward the circle, but the priestess held up her hand. She must choose freely. I took the blade. It hummed with ancient power. What do I do? Cut your palm. Speak the words of binding. Let your essence flow to him. The priestess's voice softened. It will hurt. You'll be diminished. But if the bond is true, he'll carry part of you forever. I looked at Isaac, who watched with huge, frightened eyes. It's okay, brave one, I said. Mama's going to help you. I drew the blade across my palm, blood welled, bright red and shimmering with golden light I hadn't known I possessed. When I spoke the words the priestess whispered to me, ancient words in a language I didn't know, but somehow understood. The magic poured out of me in a rush. Not just blood, but something deeper. Pieces of my soul, my power, everything that made me who I was. It formed a glowing stream that flowed toward Isaac. The moment it touched him, he gasped. Then light erupted from his small body. The curse, visible now as black tendrils wrapped around his chest, recoiled from my magic like it had been burned. That my essence wove through him, golden threads reinforcing what was weak, healing what was broken. The connection snapped into place with such force I staggered. Suddenly I could feel him. Actually feel him, his heartbeat in my chest, his breath in my lungs, his joy and fear and love flooding through me like a second bloodstream. Mama! Isaac ran to me, and when he crashed into my arms, the sensation doubled. Our hearts beat in sync, our magic harmonized. The bond was complete. The second trial goes to Molly Stewart, the priestess announced. The maternal bond is confirmed. True. Unbreakable. Patricia let out a sound like a wounded animal. No, this isn't. I'm his mother. I carried him. You're lying. The voice came from the crowd. A woman stepped forward, one of the southern healers who'd accompanied Patricia. "I can't stay silent anymore. She paid me to lie, to forge documents, to create false witnesses." The courtyard erupted, and Carol's voice cut through the chaos. "Explain. Now." The healer bowed. "Patricia Tate was queen, yes, but she didn't die in childbirth. She murdered the real mother, a servant girl who caught the king's eye. Patricia couldn't bear children herself, so she stole the baby, claimed him as her own, and killed the real mother to hide the truth." Horror crashed over me. Isaac's grip on my hand tightened. "When the king discovered the deception, he banished her," the healer continued. But not before she cursed the child. If I can't have him, no one will. The fading bond was her revenge." Patricia's face twisted with rage. "Lies! All lies!" "Then prove it," Carol snarled. "Take the blade. Give your essence to Isaac. If you're truly his mother, the bond will form." Patricia stared at the blade like it was a viper. I can't. The southern healing weakened me. I don't have power to spare." "Because you're not his mother." My voice was steady despite my shaking hands. You never were. You stole a child to secure your position, cursed him when you lost that position, and came back to finish what you started." The pieces clicked into place. The timing of her arrival, her surprise about the curse that seemed too practiced, the way she'd tried to take Isaac away from the one person who could actually save him. "You wanted him dead," I said quietly. "You needed the heir gone so Carol would be forced to remarry someone who could give him children. Someone like you." Patricia's mask shattered completely. "He was supposed to die. The curse was supposed to kill him months ago. But then you showed up with your impossible power and your naive love, and you ruined everything." She lunged. Not at me. At Isaac. A dagger appeared in her hand, aimed at his small chest. Time slowed to honey-thick moments. Carol roared, shifting mid-leap into his massive wolf form. But he was too far away. The guards moved, but too slowly. Patricia's blade descended toward Isaac's heart, and I moved. Not consciously. Pure instinct. I threw myself between them, felt the blade sink into my shoulder instead of his chest. Pain exploded through me, hot and sharp. But then my magic, the magic I'd just given to Isaac, surged back through our bond. His power and mine combining, magnifying. Golden light erupted from my wound, and the blade turned to ash in Patricia's hand. Carol hit Patricia with the full force of his wolf, slamming her to the ground. His jaws closed around her throat, not killing, but holding, trapping. Guards swarmed. The dagger's ash was evidence enough. Isaac was crying, hands pressed to my bleeding shoulder. "Mama, you're hurt! You're bleeding! Mama, please!" "I'm okay, brave one." I pulled him close with my good arm. "I'm okay. You're safe. That's all that matters." The high priestess knelt beside us, pressing cloth to my wound. "The bond saved you. His magic fed back through, a healing what should have been fatal." "There's no third trial, is there?" I asked through gritted teeth. "No need. You already passed it." She smiled softly. "You were willing to die for him. No trial can measure greater love than that." Carol shifted back to human form, someone throwing him a cloak. He dropped to his knees beside us, pulling both Isaac and me into his arms. "You insane, brave, perfect woman," he growled against my hair. You could have died." "But I didn't." I looked up at him. "The bond worked. We saved him." "We saved each other," he corrected. His hand cupped my face. "All three of us." Isaac wiggled between us. "Does this mean no more trials? Mama won?" "Your mama won," Carol confirmed. "And Patricia will face trial for attempted murder, kidnapping, and dark magic." Guards were dragging Patricia away, her screams of rage echoing across the courtyard. "The curse," I said suddenly. "She cast it. Can it be broken now?" "Already breaking." The priestess pointed to Isaac. The black tendrils were dissolving, destroyed by the combined magic of our bond. "He'll need rest, recovery, but he'll live, truly live." Isaac's eyes were already drooping. The magic, the fear, the excitement, it was too much for his small body. "Sleep, brave one," I whispered. "We'll be here when you wake up." "Promise?" His voice was tiny. "Promise." Carol and I said it together. Isaac smiled and tucked his head against my uninjured shoulder and fell asleep instantly. The priestess helped us to our feet. "The wedding should still happen. The bond is formed, but the legal ceremony will cement it, protect against any future challenges." "Tomorrow," Carol said. It wasn't a question. I should have protested, should have asked for time. But looking at this man who'd moved heaven and earth to save his son, who'd given me the choice even when he didn't have to, who was looking at me like I hung the moon. "Tomorrow," I agreed, and when he kissed me, soft and reverent, with Isaac sleeping between us and the whole court watching, it felt like a vow all its own. Chapter 7. The Assassination Attempt. The day before the wedding should have been peaceful. Should have been. I woke to Isaac's delighted laughter drifting through the open windows. After 3 days of recovery, the curse's effects had finally faded completely. He was running again, playing again, being the vibrant child he was meant to be. I found him in the gardens with Janice, chasing butterflies through the rose bushes. The sight made my heart swell. "Mama!" "Oh, look how fast I can run now." He took off in a sprint that would have been impossible a week ago. "I see you, brave one," I called, smiling. Janice settled on the bench beside me. "He's like a different child. The color in his cheeks, the energy. It's miraculous." "It's the bond." I could still feel it humming between us, a golden thread connecting my heart to his. "As long as I'm here, the curse can't touch him." "Then thank the gods you're here." She patted my hand. "Yo, the whole palace is preparing for tomorrow. It'll be the wedding of the century, the king finally remarrying, the hero who saved the prince becoming queen." Hero. The word sat uncomfortably. I'd just done what anyone would do. "I'm going to check on Isaac," I said, standing. But as I moved toward where he'd been playing, unease prickled my spine. The garden had gone too quiet. "Isaac?" I called. No answer. "Isaac!" Janice stood, alarm crossing her face. He was just here!" A scream cut through the air. Child's scream. Isaac's scream. I ran. Around the hedge, through the gate, into the smaller courtyard beyond. And stopped cold. 5 men surrounded Isaac. Not palace guards. Their armor was wrong. Foreign. Mercenaries. One had grabbed the boy, hand clamped over his mouth, knife pressed to his small throat. "Let him go." My voice came out deadly calm despite the terror flooding my veins. The leader smiled. "Can't do that, lady. We have orders. The boy dies. The wedding doesn't happen. Simple contract." "Who hired you?" "Does it matter?" He gestured to his men. "Kill the woman. Make it look like an accident. Take the boy's body. Leave no witnesses." They moved as one. I had seconds. No weapon. No guards close enough. Just the training Carol had drilled into me, and instincts I was still learning to trust. The first mercenary lunged. I ducked, used his momentum to flip him over my hip. The move Carol had taught me. The one I'd thought I'd never need. The second came from behind. I felt him through my awakening wolf senses. Spun, drove my elbow into his throat. He went down choking, but there were 3 more, and one had Isaac. "Mama!" Isaac's terrified voice cut through my focus. The bond between us flared. His fear fed into mine into his, amplifying until power I didn't know I possessed exploded outward. Golden light erupted from my hands, slamming into the nearest mercenary. He flew backward, and hitting the wall with a sickening crunch. The others hesitated. "Last chance," I said, voice resonating with something not quite human. "Let him go." The leader laughed. "You're just a healer playing queen. You think you can—" He didn't finish. A massive golden wolf crashed through the garden gate. Carol. He must have felt the danger through our forming mate bond, must have known something was wrong and come running. What followed was brutal. So Carol tore into the mercenaries with savage efficiency. Blood sprayed. Men screamed. I grabbed Isaac the moment his captor's attention shifted, pulling him behind me, shielding him with my body. "Don't look," I whispered, covering his eyes. "Don't look, brave one." But I looked. watched Carol destroy the men who'd threatened his son. This wasn't the controlled king or the gentle father. This was a predator unleashed, an alpha king defending his pack with lethal force. The last mercenary tried to run. Carol's jaws closed around his leg, dragging him back. The man's screams ended abruptly. Then silence. Carol shifted back to human form, someone's discarded cloak barely covering him. Blood splattered his chest, his face, his hands. He looked feral, barely controlled, eyes still glowing with wolf light. "Isaac?" His voice was gravel. "Safe," I managed. "He's safe." Carol closed the distance in 3 strides, dropping to his knees and pulling both of us into a crushing embrace. His whole body shook. "I felt your fear through the bond," he said roughly. "Felt the danger. I've never moved so fast in my life. If I'd been seconds later, but you weren't." I cupped his face, forcing him to look at me. "We're okay. All of us." Isaac wiggled between us, small hands patting Carol's chest. "Papa, you were so fierce, like in the stories, but scary." "I'm sorry you had to see that, brave one." "It's okay." "You were protecting us." Isaac's logic was simple, pure. That's what papas do. Captain Douglas arrived with a dozen guards taking in the carnage. His face went pale. "My king, There was a distraction at the main gate. By the time we realized, someone planned this." Carol stood slowly, and I'd never seen him look more dangerous. "Timed it, knew exactly how to pull the guards away." "Patricia's allies?" I asked. "She's in the dungeon awaiting trial, but she had connections. Was people who benefited from her rule, who don't want you as queen." His jaw tightened. "This was an assassination attempt, on you and Isaac both." The implications settled like stones in my stomach. They'll try again. Not if I slaughter every last one of them first. The promise in his voice was absolute. Douglas cleared his throat. "We've captured one alive. He's being questioned now." "Good." Carol's eyes never left me. "Molly, you fought." "You used magic I've never seen you access before." "The bond with Isaac. When he was in danger, it just came." I looked at my hands, still tingling with residual power. "I didn't think. I just acted." "You were magnificent." He pulled me close, heedless of the blood staining his skin. "Terrifying and magnificent." I was terrified. "That makes 2 of us." His arms tightened. "When I felt your fear through the bond, when I thought I might lose you both." He couldn't finish. "It just held us tighter." Isaac squirmed. "Papa, you're squishing us." A shaky laugh escaped Carol. "Sorry, brave one." But he didn't let go immediately. When he finally did, his eyes held mine with burning intensity. "The wedding happens tomorrow, with triple the guards. No one gets near you or Isaac without going through me first." "Carol." "No arguments." His voice dropped. "I almost lost you today, both of you. I won't risk it again." That evening, we discovered the truth. I and the surviving mercenary broke under questioning. The plot ran deeper than anyone had suspected. "A southern kingdom," Douglas reported, face grim. "Kingdom of Thornwick. Their princess was one of Carol's rejected matches. She's furious about the marriage, sees it as a personal insult." "So she hired assassins to kill Isaac and me?" I couldn't believe the pettiness. "She figured with you dead and Isaac dead, well, Carol would have no choice but to accept a political marriage for the good of the realm." Douglas grimaced. "She's already on her way here with her delegation, plans to arrive tomorrow just in time to comfort the grieving king." Carol's growl vibrated through the room. "She thinks she can murder my family and then waltz in to claim me?" "She doesn't know the assassination failed," I said slowly. "She thinks we're dead." A dangerous smile crossed Carol's face. "Then let's let her think that, for a few hours more." The next morning, Princess Michelle arrived with fanfare. From our hidden position in the throne room's upper gallery, Isaac, Carol, and I watched her grand entrance. She was beautiful, golden hair, perfect features, dripping with jewels and false sympathy. Tragic news about the attack, she simpered to the council. Such a loss for the kingdom, but perhaps it's fate's way of saying the king needs a proper queen, a someone of royal blood who can actually protect the realm. Rage heated my blood. This woman had ordered the death of a 5-year-old child and was now using it as a marriage proposal. Carol's hand found mine. Ready? More than ready. We descended the stairs together, Carol in full royal regalia, me in the crimson wedding gown that had been prepared, Isaac between us in his little formal jacket. The princess's face went white. "Surprise," Carol said coldly. "We survived." But the report said," Michelle stammered. "The reports were wrong." Carol's voice could have frozen hell itself. "Just like your hired assassins were wrong to think they could touch my family." "Hired assassins? I don't know what The one who survived gave your name, described your signet ring, detailed the payment plan." Douglas stepped forward with documents. "We have everything, Princess. Signed confessions, payment records." "Letters in your own hand." Michelle's perfect mask cracked. "This is preposterous. I'm royalty. You can't accuse me of murder?" I stepped forward. "Attempted murder of a child and the future queen? Actually, he can. And he will." She looked at me with such contempt it was almost funny. "You're nothing. A commoner playing dress-up. You think you can stand against me?" "I don't think. I know." I held her gaze. "Because unlike you, I actually love them. I'd die for them. And I did almost die for them. You? You just want a crown." "Guards," Carol commanded. "Arrest Princess Michelle on charges of conspiracy to commit murder, hiring of foreign mercenaries, and attempting to harm the royal heir." "You'll regret this!" Michelle shrieked as guards seized her arms. "Thornwick will declare war. My father will apologize profusely once he learns his daughter tried to murder a child." Carol's voice was ice. "Or face the full might of my army." "His choice." As they dragged her away, her screams echoing through the halls, Carol turned to me. "Well," he said with dark humor, "that's one wedding crasher handled. Any others we should know about?" "Just one," I smiled. "The bride who's still terrified of actually going through with this." His expression softened. "We can postpone. After everything that's happened." "No." I squeezed his hand. "I want this. Want you. Want our family." I looked down at Isaac, who was watching us with huge and hopeful eyes. "I'm just scared I'll mess up the vows or trip on this ridiculous dress or—" "You'll be perfect," Carol said, pulling me close. "And if you're not, we'll be imperfect together." Isaac grabbed both our hands. "Can we do the wedding now? I want to see Mama in the pretty dress and Papa in the crown and—" "Yes," Carol and I said together, then laughed. "Let's get married," I said. "Finally," Carol growled, and kissed me hard enough to make my knees weak. And the court erupted in cheers. And for the first time since accepting that flower in the market, I felt like everything might actually be okay. Chapter 8. The Ritual of Binding. The ceremony was set for sunset, the most powerful time for mate bonds, when day surrendered to night and magic ran strongest. I stood in the royal chambers, Janice fussing with my gown while my hands trembled. The dress was stunning, deep crimson silk with gold embroidery, fitted to emphasize curves I didn't know I had, flowing into a train that seemed to go on forever. "You look like a queen," Janice said softly. "As a true queen." I looked terrified. "That too." She smiled, pinning my hair up with golden pins shaped like stars. "But terror means it matters, means you're not taking this lightly." A knock interrupted us. Carol's voice came through the door. "Is she decent? I need to see her." "You're not supposed to see the bride before the ceremony," Janice protested. "I'm the king. I'll see my bride when I want." The door opened. He stopped dead. I'd never seen Carol speechless before. So he stood frozen in the doorway, dressed in black formal wear with the royal crest emblazoned across his chest, his hair pulled back, looking every inch the powerful Alpha King. But his eyes, gods, his eyes. They traced over me with such raw hunger and reverence that heat flooded my cheeks. "Leave us," he said to Janice without looking away from me. She scurried out, door clicking shut behind her. You can't be here, I said, voice unsteady. It's bad luck. I don't believe in luck, but I believe in claiming what's mine. He crossed to me in slow, deliberate steps. And you, Molly Stewart, are mine. Presumptuous, considering we're not married yet. A technicality. His hand came up to trace my collarbone, the touch feather light but burning. You've been mine since the moment you accepted that flower. Since you pulled the curse off Isaac. Since you threw yourself in front of a blade for him. His thumb brushed my pulse point. Since you kissed me in that training yard like you wanted to devour me. I did not. You did. His smile was wicked. And I've been thinking about it every moment since. Thinking about what happens after the ceremony, when you're legally mine, when there's nothing stopping us from... Carol. His name came out breathless. I came to give you something. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside sat a ring, not the formal crown jewels I'd expected, but something simpler, and a band of twisted gold and silver with a single emerald. Isaac picked the stone, he said softly. Said it had to match our eyes. The gold is from my mother's wedding band. The silver is new, representing you bringing light into our darkness. Tears pricked my eyes. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. He took my hand, but didn't put the ring on yet. I need to tell you something. Before we do this, before you're bound to me forever. His tone made my stomach drop. Oh, what? The mate bond ceremony tonight. It's not just vows. There's a ritual, an ancient one that completes the bond between alpha and mate. He held my gaze. It requires intimacy. Full intimacy. The joining of bodies, souls, and magic under the moon. Heat flooded through me. You mean... Yes. His thumb stroked my wrist. The ceremony happens in front of witnesses. Then we retire to the bonding chamber for the ritual. It must be completed before dawn or the bond won't seal properly. And if the bond doesn't seal... Isaac's protection fails, I finished. The curse could return. Exactly. His jaw tightened. I won't force you. If you're not ready, we can find another way. But I need you to know what tonight means. What it requires. My heart hammered. Have you done this before? With Patricia? No, she wasn't my mate. We had a political marriage, separate chambers. I never... He stopped. You'd be my first, my only. The confession hung between us. I'm scared, I admitted. Not of you. Of disappointing you. Of not knowing what to do. Of... He kissed me. Soft, slow, thorough. When he pulled back, his eyes had darkened to forest green. You could never disappoint me, he said roughly. And as for not knowing what to do, his smile turned predatory. I'll teach you. Every touch, every pleasure, every way to make you scream my name. My knees went weak. That's not helping my nerves. Good. He slid the ring onto my finger. Perfect fit. I want you nervous. I want you thinking about tonight. About me. About what happens when I finally get you alone in that chamber with nothing between us. You're terrible. I'm yours. He kissed my forehead. Tonight and every night after. Are you ready? I took a shaky breath, looked at the ring, felt the bond with Isaac humming in my chest, saw the future stretching before us, terrifying and beautiful and mine. Yes, I said. Let's do this. The throne room had been transformed into something out of legend. In thousands of candles created rivers of light, white flowers cascaded from every surface. The ceremonial circle was drawn in silver and gold, runes of binding and protection woven throughout. The entire court stood witness, hundreds of faces watching as I walked down the aisle. Isaac waited at the altar beside his father, practically vibrating with excitement in his little formal jacket. When he saw me, his face lit up. Mama, you're so pretty, like the moon lady in my dreams. Laughter rippled through the crowd. I knelt when I reached him, not caring about wrinkling my dress. Are you ready, brave one? I whispered. Are you? His eyes were solemn. Papa said you might be scared. I am, but having you here makes me braver. He threw his arms around my neck. I love you, Mama. Forever and ever. Forever and ever, I echoed, holding him tight. When I stood, Carol was watching us with such emotion in his eyes it hurt to see. Now the High Priestess stepped forward, staff in hand. We gather under moon and stars to witness the binding of souls. Carol Flowers, Alpha King, and Molly Stewart, healer and guardian. 2 hearts, 1 bond, 1 destiny. She began the ancient words, but I barely heard them. All I could focus on was Carol's hand taking mine, his thumb tracing circles on my palm, the heat of him so close I could feel it through layers of fabric. The vows, the priestess prompted. Carol went first. I, Carol Flowers, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, take you, Molly Stewart, as my mate, my queen, my equal in all things. I vow to protect you, honor you, stand beside you through every storm. I vow to love the fierceness in you, the gentleness, the strength that saved my son and stole my heart. His voice roughened. I vow to be yours, completely, until death takes me and beyond. My turn. My voice shook but held. I, Molly Stewart, take you, Carol Flowers, as my mate, my king, my home. I vow to stand with you, fight beside you, love the man behind the crown. I vow to protect your son as my own, to be the mother he needs and the partner you deserve. I met his eyes. I vow to be yours, freely chosen, now and always. The rings, the priestess said. We exchanged them. Mine I'd already received, his a matching band of twisted gold and silver. By the power of moon and magic, I pronounce you bound, alpha and mate, king and queen, forever one. The court erupted in cheers, and Carol pulled me close and kissed me, not gently, not carefully, but with unleashed passion that made my toes curl and heat pool low in my belly. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. Mine, he growled, too low for anyone else to hear. Finally, completely mine. Yours, I agreed. Isaac squeezed between us. Does this mean we're a real family now? The realest, Carol said, lifting him up. You, me, and Mama. Forever. The celebration that followed was a blur. Food, wine, dancing, well-wishers congratulating us. Through it all, Carol's hand never left mine, his touch burning through fabric, promising things that made my breath catch. As midnight approached, the priestess appeared at Carol's elbow. It's time, she said quietly. The moon is at its apex. The bonding chamber is prepared. My stomach flipped. Carol's hand tightened on mine. Ready? No. Yes. Maybe. Yes. He led me through the crowd, nobles parting before us. Isaac had already been taken to bed, exhausted from the excitement. It was just us now. The bonding chamber was in the oldest part of the palace, carved into the mountain itself. Ancient stone, ceremonial markings, a massive bed draped in furs and silk. Candles cast dancing shadows. The ceiling was open to the sky, moonlight streaming down in silver columns. The door closed behind us with a final sounding click, and we stood facing each other in the moonlight. Last chance, Carol said softly. If you want to stop, we stop. I'll find another way to seal the bond. There is no other way. You said it yourself. The ritual must be completed by dawn. Then I'll die before dawn. His voice was fierce. I won't take you if you're not ready. Won't make you do this out of obligation. I stepped closer, close enough to feel his heat. And if I want this, want you, not because of bonds or curses or duty, but because I choose it, his eyes darkened to almost black. Then I'm going to make love to you until you forget your own name, until the only word you remember is mine. Heat flooded through me. Prove it. He moved. One moment we were apart, the next his hands were in my hair, his mouth on mine, kissing me like he was drowning, and I was air. His fingers found the laces of my gown, began undoing them with practiced ease. I've been thinking about this all day, he muttered against my lips. All week. Since that kiss in the training yard. Since the moment I saw you kneel for Isaac with such gentle hands. The gown loosened, slipped from my shoulders. I should have been embarrassed, standing in nothing but thin undergarments. Instead, I felt powerful. Your turn, I said, reaching for his jacket. He helped me, shrugging out of formal wear until he stood before me in nothing but fitted pants that left very little to the imagination. I'd seen him shirtless before, training, that morning after Isaac's nightmare. But this was different. This was permission to look, to touch, to claim. My hands trembled as I traced the scars on his chest, the lines of muscle that spoke of years of training. Beautiful, I whispered. That's my line. His hand caught mine, brought it to his lips. Every inch of you is perfect, made for me. He lifted me, carried me to the bed like I weighed nothing, laid me down on silk and furs with reverent care. Tell me if it's too much, he said, and hovering over me, if you need me to slow down, stop, anything. I'll tell you. I pulled him down. Now stop talking and kiss me. He did. And gods, the man knew how to kiss. His mouth moved over mine, lips and tongue and teeth in perfect rhythm. His hands explored, learning curves and sensitive spots that made me gasp. When his mouth moved to my throat, my collarbone, lower, I arched into the touch. Carol. I know. His voice was gravel. I feel it too. The bond pulling us together. Your magic calling to mine. He was right. I could feel it. Golden threads weaving between us, tightening with each touch, each kiss, each racing heartbeat. The rest of our clothing disappeared. Then there was nothing between us, just skin and heat and desperate need. This might hurt at first, he warned, positioning himself. But I promise, I'll make it good. Make you feel so good you'll never want anyone else. I already don't want anyone else, I gasped. Only you. Always you. He pushed forward slowly, carefully, giving me time to adjust. The pain was sharp but brief, replaced quickly by pressure, fullness, rightness. Breathe, he commanded, voice strained. Just breathe through it. I did, and as my body adjusted, as the pain faded to tingling pleasure, I moved with him. His control shattered. What followed was primal, desperate, perfect. Our bodies moved together, finding rhythm like we'd done this 1,000 times before. As magic erupted around us, golden light from me, emerald from him, weaving together in patterns that illuminated the chamber. The bond snapped into place with such force I cried out. Suddenly I could feel everything. His pleasure mixing with mine, doubling, tripling, his thoughts bleeding into my head, his wolf recognizing mine, claiming, binding. Mine, he growled against my throat. Say it. Say you're mine. Yours, I gasped. Completely yours. The pleasure built impossibly higher, tightening like a coiled spring. His hand slipped between us, touched me in a way that made stars explode behind my eyes. I shattered. He followed seconds later, my name on his lips like a prayer. We collapsed together, tangled in silk and moonlight, both shaking from the intensity of it. The bond hummed between us, solid and unbreakable now. I could feel him in my chest, in my blood, in my soul, could feel his contentment, his satisfaction, his love. That was... I couldn't find words. Inevitable, he finished, pulling me against his side. We were always going to end up here, from the moment you accepted that flower. Fate? Fate. Magic. Destiny. Call it whatever you want. I call it mine. He kissed my temple. How do you feel? Complete, I admitted. Like something I didn't know was missing just clicked into place. The mate bond, fully sealed now. His hand traced lazy patterns on my hip. You're stuck with me forever. And Isaac? And Isaac. He smiled. Our son. Our family. I turned to look at him. I love you. I don't know when it happened. Maybe that first night when you held him through nightmares. Maybe when you taught me to fight. Maybe... He kissed me, cutting off the rambling. I love you too. Have since you knelt in the market and treated my son like he mattered. Since you stayed when you could have run. Since you proved you're the strongest person I've ever met. We lay there as the moon crossed the sky, talking softly, touching gently, sealing the bond with tender kisses and whispered promises. When dawn broke through the open ceiling, golden light mixing with silver, I felt the magic settle into something permanent. The bond was complete. We were family. Officially, magically, eternally. And I'd never been happier. Chapter 9. The Trial by Combat. 1 week of wedded bliss. 7 perfect days of waking in Carol's arms, having breakfast with Isaac, learning what it meant to be queen. The palace had settled into peaceful routine. Patricia awaited trial in the dungeons. Princess Michelle had been sent home in disgrace. The curse was broken. Everything should have been perfect, so of course that's when she arrived. I was in the gardens with Isaac, teaching him which herbs could heal and which could harm. When the commotion started, horns blaring, guards shouting, the clatter of hooves on stone. Carol appeared at a run, face grim. Get Isaac inside, now! What's happening? Patricia's family. He spat the words like poison. Her father, the Southern Duke. He's here with an army at his back and a formal challenge. Ice flooded my veins. What kind of challenge? The kind I can't refuse. His jaw was tight enough to crack. Trial by combat for Patricia's freedom. If his champion wins, she goes free and all charges are dropped. That's insane! She tried to kill Isaac! Ancient law. He pulled me close, voice dropping. Her family is invoking rights that predate my rule. I have to accept, or it's seen as weakness. Other kingdoms will think they can challenge me with impunity. Isaac tugged on my skirt. Mama? Is the bad lady coming back? No, brave one. I picked him up, even though he was getting heavy. We won't let that happen. But as we hurried inside, I saw them. A delegation of 50 armed men, flags bearing a silver wolf on black. At their head rode an older man with Patricia's cold eyes and cruel mouth, Duke Troy Pearson, Patricia's father, and he looked furious. The challenge was formal, presented in the throne room before the full court. My daughter has been falsely imprisoned, the Duke declared, voice ringing off stone walls. Accused of crimes she didn't commit by a commoner playing queen. His eyes found mine, full of contempt. I invoke the right of combat. My champion against yours. If mine wins, Patricia goes free and receives compensation for her suffering. And if our champion wins, Carol's voice was ice, then I accept the verdict. Patricia faces trial. Justice is served. The Duke smiled coldly. But we both know your queen is no warrior. She can't fight my champion. And you, bound by law, cannot fight for her. The trap was elegant. As the accused party, I had to provide the champion. But as a new queen with no combat experience, I had no one, except myself. I'll fight. The words left my mouth before I'd fully thought them through. The court gasped. Carol's head whipped toward me. Molly, no. I accept the challenge, I said louder, stepping forward. I'll face the Duke's champion. Tomorrow at dawn. The Duke laughed. The little healer wants to play warrior? This will be entertaining. There are conditions, I continued, voice steady despite my hammering heart. As when I win, not if, when. Patricia faces full trial for her crimes. No more delays, no more challenges. Justice for what she did to Isaac. Agreed. The Duke's eyes glittered with malicious glee. And when you lose, my daughter goes free, and you publicly admit to falsifying charges against her. That won't happen. We'll see tomorrow. He bowed mockingly. I look forward to watching you fall. The moment the Duke and his delegation left, Carol rounded on me. Oh, what were you thinking? His voice shook with barely controlled fury. You've had 1 week of training. His champion will be a professional killer. I know. You could die, Molly. Actually die. And I can't stop it because you accepted publicly. He ran his hands through his hair, looking more terrified than I'd ever seen him. How am I supposed to watch you walk into that arena knowing you might not walk out? The same way I watched you fight those mercenaries. I took his hands. With faith, with trust, with the knowledge that I'm fighting for our family. This is different. It's not. I held his gaze. Patricia tried to kill Isaac. She cursed him, stole him, lied about everything. If we let her father take her away, she'll just try again. She'll never stop until Isaac is dead and you're forced to remarry someone she chooses. His hands tightened on mine. Then let me find a loophole. Some way to fight in your place. There isn't one, but you know the law. I touched his face. Besides, I'm not helpless anymore. You taught me to fight. The bond with Isaac gave me power I'm still learning to use, and I have something Patricia's champion doesn't. What? Something worth fighting for. I glanced toward where Isaac played with toy soldiers in the corner, carefully not listening to the adult conversation. I won't let anyone take him from me. Not her father, not some hired killer, no one. Carol pulled me into his arms, Oz holding tight enough to hurt. If you die tomorrow, I'll burn the world down. Then it's a good thing I don't plan on dying. That night, sleep was impossible. Carol drilled me in combat forms until my muscles screamed. Captain Douglas joined us, teaching dirty tricks, eye gouges, groin strikes, anything to survive against a superior fighter. He'll be bigger, stronger, faster, Douglas said. Your only advantage is unpredictability. He'll expect fear. Give him rage. When midnight came and Carol finally called a halt, we returned to our chambers. Isaac was already asleep in his bed, clutching his wooden wolf. I should let you rest, Carol said, but his hands were already pulling me close. I'm too wired to rest. I pressed against him. Distract me. He did. Thoroughly. Desperately. Like a man trying to memorize every inch of me before I slipped away. Afterward, tangled in sweat-soaked sheets, he whispered against my hair, promise me something. Anything. If it looks like you're losing, if he's about to deliver a killing blow, yield. Surrender. Let Patricia go if it means you live. Carol, promise me. His voice cracked. I can't lose you. Isaac can't lose you. We just found you. Please. I turned in his arms, looked into eyes bright with unshed tears. This powerful king, this fierce warrior, begging me to choose life over pride. I promise, I whispered. If there's no other way, I'll yield. He kissed me like I was air and he was drowning. We didn't sleep that night, just held each other, watching the moon cross the sky, counting down to dawn. The arena was an ancient stone circle behind the palace, built for trials like this. Thousands of years of blood soaked into the sand. The court gathered in viewing stands. The Duke sat in the place of honor, Patricia beside him in chains, smiling like she'd already won. Carol stood near the royal box, and Isaac clutched in his arms. The boy's face was pale, frightened. I walked into the arena wearing light armor, boiled leather that allowed movement, a short sword at my hip, a dagger strapped to my thigh. My hair was braided tight to keep it out of my eyes. The Duke's champion entered from the opposite side. My heart sank. He was massive, at least 6.5 feet tall, arms like tree trunks, scarred face that spoke of countless battles survived. And he carried a war axe that probably weighed more than I did. This is your champion? He laughed, voice like grinding stone. The Duke said you were a healer playing queen. I'll try to make it quick. How merciful. I drew my sword. I'll return the favor. The high priestess stepped forward, staff raised. Trial by combat. First blood decides nothing. Fight until one yields or dies. May the gods grant victory to the righteous. She struck her staff on the ground. The champion charged. He was fast for his size, axe sweeping in a deadly arc. I dove aside, rolled, came up with sword raised. His second strike nearly took my head off. I ducked, the blade whistling past so close I felt the wind. Stand still, he roared. Not a chance. I was smaller, lighter. My only hope was staying mobile. I danced back, letting him chase me around the arena, burning his energy while conserving mine. The crowd was restless. They wanted blood. Wanted a real fight. The champion feinted left. Struck right. His axe caught my shoulder guard, sheared through leather like paper. Pain exploded down my arm. First blood. Mine. Carol's roar echoed from the stands. I didn't look. Couldn't afford the distraction. The champion pressed his advantage, raining blows that I barely blocked. My sword arm was weakening. The wound on my shoulder bled freely, making my grip slippery. He kicked out, caught me in the ribs. I flew backward, hit the sand hard enough to knock the air from my lungs. Yield, he said, standing over me. You fought well for a healer. No shame in yielding. I looked past him to where Isaac watched, small face streaked with tears. Mama! He screamed. Get up! Please get up! The bond between us flared. His fear fed into me, but so did something else. His absolute faith that I could win. His certainty that I was the strongest person he knew. Power surged through me, the same golden magic that had fought the curse, that had saved him a dozen times. And I rolled as the axe came down, burying itself in sand where my head had been. Came up inside his guard, drove my dagger into his armpit where the armor didn't cover. He howled, stumbling back. I didn't give him time to recover. Pressed forward, using every dirty trick Douglas had taught me. Kicked his knee, slashed at his hamstrings, went for eyes and throat and every vulnerable spot I could reach. He was stronger, but I was desperate, and desperation can beat strength. And my sword found the gap between his chest plate and pauldron, slid deep. Not fatal, but enough. He dropped to one knee, blood pouring from the wound. Yield, I said, pressing my blade to his throat. He stared up at me, shock written across his scarred face. You actually yield, I repeated. Or die. Your choice. I yield. The words came out strangled. I yield! The crowd erupted. I stepped back, lowering my sword. Every muscle shook with exhaustion and adrenaline crash. The priestess raised her staff. The trial is concluded. Victory to Molly Stewart, Queen of the Northern Territories. Patricia Tate will face full trial for her crimes. Patricia's scream of rage was beautiful. Then Isaac was running across the sand, Carol right behind him. They crashed into me together, nearly knocking me down again. Mama, you won! You beat the big scary man! Isaac was crying and laughing simultaneously. Carol's hands framed my face, checking me over frantically. Oh, your shoulder. You're bleeding. We need a healer. I'm fine. I was crying too. We're all fine. He kissed me hard, not caring that thousands watched. When he pulled back, his eyes were fierce with pride. My warrior queen, he said. You're magnificent. I'm exhausted and terrified, and I think I might throw up. Still magnificent. The Duke pushed through the crowd, face purple with rage. This isn't over. I'll appeal to the High Council. You'll go home. Carol's voice cut through the noise like a blade. You'll take your men, your wounded champion, and your treasonous daughter's last hope with you. And if I ever see you on my lands again without invitation, I'll consider it an act of war. The Duke looked like he wanted to argue, but he saw something in Carol's face, the promise of violence barely leashed, and thought better of it. This isn't finished, he hissed at me as he passed. Yes, I said quietly. It is. That night, after Patricia's trial and conviction, after her father slunk away in disgrace, after Isaac was tucked safely in bed, I stood on the balcony looking out at moonlit mountains. Carol's arms came around me from behind, pulling me against his chest. How's the shoulder? He murmured. Hurts, but it'll heal. I leaned back into his warmth. Is it really over? All of it? All of it. His lips brushed my temple. Patricia will spend the rest of her life in prison. But her father's influence is broken. The southern kingdoms know not to challenge us. He turned me in his arms. We're safe. All three of us. I can't quite believe it. Believe it. He kissed me softly. You fought for us. Won for us. Proved you're exactly the queen this kingdom needs. I just did what any mother would do. No. His voice was firm. You did what only you could do. You're extraordinary, Molly, and I'm spending the rest of my life making sure you know it. From inside, an Isaac's sleepy voice called out, Mama, Papa, I had a good dream. Can I tell you? We smiled at each other. Coming, brave one, I called back. We went inside together, crawled into bed with our son between us, listened to him babble about dreams of running through forests that never ended, and for the first time since accepting that flower in the market, I felt it completely. Peace, safety, home. We were finally, truly free. Chapter 10. The Moon Lady's Promise. 3 months later, spring had come to the Northern Territories, bringing with it warm winds and fields of wildflowers that stretched to the horizon. The palace gardens exploded with color, and Isaac spent every possible moment running through them, stronger and healthier than he'd ever been. I watched him from the balcony, one hand resting absently on my stomach. "You're going to wear a path in that stone," Carol said, coming up behind me. Yet his arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. "What's troubling you?" "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." I leaned into his warmth. It's been so perfect lately. Too perfect. I keep waiting for something to go wrong." "Nothing's going to go wrong." His lips brushed my temple. "Patricia's in prison. Her father hasn't shown his face in months. The southern kingdoms are behaving. Even the weather is cooperating." "That's what worries me." He turned me in his arms, studying my face. "This is about more than waiting for disaster. What's really bothering you?" I bit my lip, wondering how to voice the fear that had been growing. "The court. They're starting to whisper again." "Let them whisper. They're saying I haven't given you an heir. That 3 months is long enough to know." My voice dropped. "They're saying maybe you should take a second wife. Someone who can actually—" "Stop." His voice was iron. "I don't care what they're saying. You are my wife. My only wife. My mate. End of discussion." "But Carol, they're right. I can't—" The words stuck in my throat. "The fever damaged me. I'll never be able to give you children of your own blood. Isaac is wonderful, but the succession— Isaac is my heir. That's not changing." He cupped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. "And if the council has a problem with that, they can take it up with me. Preferably in the training yard, where I can knock some sense into them." Despite myself, I smiled. "You can't fight everyone who disagrees with you." "Watch me." I laughed, but it faded quickly. I want to give you more. Want to be everything you need." "You are everything I need." He pressed his forehead to mine. "You saved my son, gave him a mother who loves him fiercely, gave me a partner who challenges me, stands beside me, makes me want to be better. Oh, that's worth 1,000 heirs." "The kingdom might not agree. The kingdom doesn't get a vote." His thumb traced my lower lip. "You are my queen. That's not negotiable, not for them, not for anyone." From the gardens below, Isaac's voice rang out. "Mama! Papa! Come see! The butterflies are everywhere!" Carol's fierce expression softened. "Come on, our son wants to show us butterflies." "Our son," I repeated, letting him tug me toward the stairs. The words still made my heart warm. We found Isaac spinning in circles, arms outstretched, dozens of butterflies swirling around him like he was the center of their world. His laughter was pure joy. "Look, they like me." He stopped spinning, stumbled dizzily, and Carol caught him with practiced ease. "Of course they like you," Carol said, settling Isaac on his shoulders. "You're excellent company." "Mama, can we have butterfly cakes for dessert?" "The cook said she'd make them if you said yes." "Butterfly cakes?" I raised an eyebrow. "They're regular cakes, but with butterfly decorations." Isaac's logic was unassailable. "Please? I've been good. I practiced my letters and didn't complain when Janice made me take a bath." "Well, if you didn't complain about the bath," I pretended to consider. "I suppose butterfly cakes would be acceptable." Isaac whooped, nearly unbalancing Carol. "Careful, brave one," Carol laughed. "If you knock me over, no cakes at all." We walked through the gardens like that, Isaac chattering from his perch on Carol's shoulders, pointing out birds and flowers and clouds shaped like wolves. Normal, domestic, perfect. This was what I'd fought for. This peace, this family. That evening, after Isaac was asleep and we'd retired to our chambers, Carol pulled me onto the balcony. "I have something for you," he said. You give me too many things already." "Impossible." He handed me a small wooden box. Open it. Inside was a silver necklace, delicate chain holding a pendant shaped like a crescent moon. Isaac helped design it, Carol said softly. He said you needed something to remind you that you're his moon lady, that you brought light to his darkness. Tears pricked my eyes. It's beautiful. There's more. He lifted the pendant, showed me the back. 3 names were engraved in flowing script. Carol, Molly, Isaac. Our family, he said. Complete, perfect as it is. I couldn't speak past the lump in my throat, just turned so he could fasten it around my neck. The court can whisper all they want, he continued, lips brushing my neck as he worked the clasp. But they don't understand what we have. The bond between us, the 3 of us, it's stronger than blood, stronger than duty, stronger than anything they could comprehend. I love you, I whispered. I love you. He turned me around, hands framing my face. And I need you to understand something. You are enough, more than enough. You always have been. Even though I can't give you more children? Especially because you can't. His smile was gentle. It means every moment with Isaac is precious. Means we pour all our love into one incredible boy instead of spreading it thin across many. Means... He stopped, eyes widening. What? I asked. Your scent. He leaned closer, breathing deeply. It's different. Sweeter. Like honey and moonlight, and his eyes shot to mine. Molly, when was your last monthly bleeding? My mind raced backward. The wedding had been 3 months ago. I'd bled once after, but then... I thought it was stress, I said slowly. Everything that happened, the trials, the fighting, adjusting to being queen. I didn't think, it's not possible. The healers said, the healers were wrong. His hand pressed gently to my stomach, and I felt it, a tiny flutter of life, a second heartbeat barely discernible beneath my own. You're pregnant, the world tilted. That's impossible. So was a barren wolf suddenly manifesting healing powers. His grin was blinding. So was you fighting off curse magic with nothing but love. So was everything about us, really. But how... the bonding ritual. His voice was hushed with wonder. The mate bond. Fully sealed. It must have healed what the fever damaged, made you whole again. I pressed my own hand to my stomach, feeling that impossible flutter. There's really a baby? Our baby? Our baby. He dropped to his knees, pressing his forehead to my stomach. Gods, Molly, you're giving me everything. Tears streamed down my face. Happy tears, disbelieving tears, grateful tears. Isaac's going to be a big brother, I said, laughing through sobs. Oh, he's going to be insufferable about it. Carol stood, pulling me into his arms. Already protective enough of you. Now he'll have a little sibling to guard like a dragon hoards gold. We should tell him. Tomorrow. His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head back. Tonight, you're mine. Just mine. Let me love you, worship you, show you exactly how I feel about this miracle you've given us. He carried me inside, laid me on silk sheets with reverent care, and made love to me with such tenderness I cried again, overwhelmed by the depth of feeling between us. Afterward, tangled together in moonlight, his hand resting on my still flat stomach, I felt complete in a way I never had before. Thank you, he whispered against my hair. For what? For accepting that flower, for staying when you could have run, for fighting for us, for loving Isaac like he's yours, for giving me hope when I'd forgotten what it felt like. His voice roughened. For being everything I didn't know I needed. Right back at you, I said, pressing a kiss to his chest. We lay in comfortable silence, listening to each other breathe, feeling the tiny life growing between us. Do you think it's a boy or girl? I asked eventually. Doesn't matter, as long as they're healthy and have your smile. Your eyes. Your kindness. Your strength. Your impossible, beautiful heart. He kissed the top of my head. They'll be perfect. Oh, just like their mother. We told Isaac the next morning at breakfast. He stared at us, honey cake halfway to his mouth. A baby? A real baby? In Mama's tummy? A real baby, I confirmed. The honey cake dropped. Forgotten. Isaac launched himself at me, throwing his arms around my waist. I'm gonna be the best big brother. I'll teach them about rocks and wolves and how to be brave, and I'll protect them from everything scary, and... He pulled back, eyes suddenly worried. Will you still love me when the baby comes? My heart cracked. Oh, brave one. Come here. I pulled him onto my lap, even though he was getting big for it. Listen to me very carefully. I loved you first. You made me a mama. This baby... I pressed his hand to my stomach. This baby exists because you taught me how to love like this. Because you opened my heart wide enough to fit your papa, and now a new little person. So you won't forget me? Never. Ever. Ever. I kissed his forehead. Sir, you're my brave warrior. My first love. My moon baby. Nothing will ever change that. He relaxed against me. Then very quietly, can I tell the baby stories? About how you and Papa found each other? About the flower and the market and the scary trials? Every single story, Carol said, ruffling Isaac's hair. In fact, you should start practicing now. Gotta get good at the dramatic bits. Isaac's eyes lit up. I can do dramatic. Watch. He jumped off my lap, struck an exaggerated pose. Once upon a time, a brave prince gave a pretty lady a flower, and she said yes, and then everything was perfect forever. Carol and I exchanged amused glances. Well, there were a few scary parts in the middle, I said. But Mama and Papa beat all the scary parts, Isaac insisted, because they're the strongest and bravest and bestest. Bestest isn't a word, Carol said. Is now. Isaac grinned, dimples flashing. I just made it up. I'm a prince. I can do that. Can't argue with that logic, I laughed. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn evening, I gave birth to a daughter. She came into the world screaming, tiny fists waving, with Carol's emerald eyes and a dusting of dark hair that would probably turn auburn like mine. We named her Luna, Moon, after the dreams that had brought us together. Isaac was the first to hold her after Carol and me, sitting very still on the bed with a pillow supporting his arms and staring down at his sister with awe. She's so small, he whispered. And pink and wrinkly. You were small and pink and wrinkly once too, Carol teased. Was not. Were too. I have paintings to prove it. Isaac ignored him, too focused on Luna. Hi, little sister. I'm Isaac. I'm your big brother. I'm gonna teach you everything important. Like which rocks are the shiniest and how to make Papa laugh and how Mama gives the best hugs in the whole world. Luna's tiny hand wrapped around his finger. Isaac's face transformed with wonder. She likes me. Papa, she likes me. Of course she does, Carol said, sitting beside them. You're excellent. I watched my family, my impossible, beautiful family, and felt gratitude so intense it hurt. This was what accepting that flower had led to. Not just a crown or a title or a kingdom, but this perfect moment, this perfect love. What are you thinking? Carol asked, catching my expression. That I'd do it all again, I said honestly. Every scary moment, every trial, every fight, just to end up here with you. Even the part where I trapped you with an ancient law? Especially that part, I smiled. Because it gave me you. Both of you. All of you. Isaac looked up. Are you gonna tell Luna the story? About the flower? Every night, I promised. I'll tell her how a brave little boy offered me a daisy in the market, and I found my home. And how Papa was scary, but not really scary, Isaac added. And how you fought bad guys and won all the trials and became the bestest mama ever. That too. As evening turned to night, as Luna fell asleep in Isaac's careful arms, and Carol pulled us all close, I thought about the woman I'd been 3 months ago, alone in a cottage, convinced she'd never have a family, certain her life was already written, That woman could never have imagined this, but she'd been brave enough to accept a flower from a lonely child, and that single act of kindness had rewritten everything. "Thank you," I whispered to Isaac, kissing his temple. "For what?" "For choosing me, for seeing me, for making me your moon lady." He smiled, the same smile that had stolen my heart in that market square. "You were always my moon lady, Mama, but I just had to help you find your way home." Carol's arms tightened around all of us. "Home," he repeated softly. "That's exactly what we are." And under the light of a full moon streaming through the windows, our family, bound by choice, strengthened by trials, perfected by love, settled into the peace we'd fought so hard to claim. Some families are born. Ours was fought for, and that made it unbreakable.